The chandelier above the ballroom glittered like a crown. Crystal light spilled across silk gowns, tailored suits, and glasses filled with champagne no one here would ever remember paying for. And then, right in the middle of it all, a billionaire laughed. Not a polite laugh. Not an awkward one. A sharp, cutting laugh. Christopher Hayes didn't even bother lowering his voice. He pointed across the marble floor at a young black girl standing alone near the entrance. Her shoes were scuffed. Her dress was simple. Her hands were clutching a thin folder, like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Did someone's maid bring her kid to work?" he said, loud enough for half the room to hear. "Get her out of here." People turned. Phones lifted. Smiles tightened. The girl swallowed. "Sir, I'm Bailey Grant," she said quietly. "I own this company." For half a second, the room went still. Then Christopher Hayes laughed again. You could almost hear the sound of something breaking. What he didn't know, what no one in that room understood yet, was that they were about to watch a man destroy himself in real time. 6 months earlier, the world Bailey Grant lived in didn't look anything like this ballroom. At 7:30 in the morning, sunlight poured through the tall windows of the Grant estate, stretching across 30 quiet acres. Bailey sat on the edge of her bed, staring at a photo in her hands. Her parents, smiling, arms wrapped around her at Disneyland. For days before their private plane never made a home. The house was too big now, too quiet. She dressed in her Navy school uniform, still a child by every visible measure, then walked past shelves of stuffed animals toward a desk stacked with legal documents thicker than her math books. Downstairs, the kitchen echoed. Marble counters, empty chairs. Margaret Williams stood at the sink, her gray hair pulled back, her eyes gentle but tired. She'd been the Grant family's attorney for 15 years. Now, she was Bailey's guardian. When the doorbell rang, Margaret didn't jump. She already knew who it would be. Thomas Anderson, the family lawyer, the man who had helped Bailey's parents build an empire. They sat together at the table. "Tell me what you inherited," he said. Bailey took a breath. 87% of Grant Industries, she said. $4.3 billion. Margaret watched Thomas's expression change. "There's a condition," Thomas said carefully. Bailey nodded. She already knew. "The board controls daily operations until I turn 18, she said. "But I have final authority on major decisions." Thomas hesitated. "There's something else," he said. "The board appointed a new CEO 5 months ago." Bailey looked up. "Christopher Hayes." The name landed heavy. "He never visited after your parents died," Thomas continued. "And your father was planning to fire him." That night, Bailey made a decision no one expected. She would attend the annual Grant Industries charity gala. The same gala her parents never missed. The Grand Meridian Hotel glowed with wealth and power. Red carpet flashes popped as executives arrived in black cars. Bailey stepped out quietly. No cameras turned. No names were called. Inside, chandeliers towered above conversations about mergers and yachts. At the registration table, a woman frowned at the list. "I don't see any children invited." Before Bailey could respond, a familiar voice cut through the air. "Problem?" Christopher Hayes stepped forward. Tall, confident, surrounded by men who laughed when he laughed. He looked at Bailey once and dismissed her completely. The balance of power was already tilting, and he didn't even realize how far. "Did someone's maid bring her kid to work?" Hayes said again, louder this time. Laughter rippled. Bailey felt her face burn. "I'm Bailey Grant," she said. "I own this company." Hayes stepped closer. "You own nothing." He ripped the folder from her hands and threw it to the floor. Papers scattered, stock certificates, legal documents, death certificates. "You people always think you can walk into our world and take what's ours," he said. Then he pulled out a crisp $100 bill, crumpled it, and tossed it at her feet. "There's your welfare check," he sneered. "Pick it up and get out." Bailey dropped to her knees, not because she believed him, but because the papers were her parents' legacy. Phones were recording now. A live stream count climbed fast. "That's right," Hayes said. "On your knees where you belong." This was the moment. The one where most stories end in silence. But not this one, because across the room, Margaret Williams stood up, and she was done waiting. Margaret walked straight through the crowd and knelt beside Bailey. "I'm her legal guardian," she said calmly. "And an attorney." The room shifted. Thomas Anderson stepped forward next. "Those documents you threw away?" he said. "They're real." Hayes laughed nervously. "Call security," he snapped. "Call the police." "They're already on the way," Thomas said. Hayes froze. Evidence came out fast. Offshore accounts, shell companies, embezzled funds. The laughter died. When the police arrived, called by Hayes himself, the handcuffs came out instead. Then the board chairwoman stepped forward. Her voice carried. "This is Bailey Grant," she said, "owner of 87% of Grant Industries." Silence. Christopher Hayes looked at the girl he'd humiliated, and for the first time, he saw her. Bailey stood, not shaking now. She walked to the microphone as Hayes was led away. "My parents built this company on honesty," she said, "and respect." She looked around the room. "Mr. Hayes thought I was powerless because I'm young, and because I'm black." Her voice didn't break. He was wrong. Applause erupted. Not polite applause. Thunder. The board voted on the spot. Christopher Hayes was terminated. Bailey took her seat. The CEO seat. The video went viral overnight. Millions watched a billionaire fall and a girl rise. The trial didn't take long. Christopher Hayes was convicted on 23 counts of fraud and sentenced to 30 years. 1 year later, Bailey Grant walked through the same ballroom. This time, cameras followed. She funded scholarships, built orphan programs, and ran the company her parents died building. She stopped by the CEO chair, ran her fingers along the armrest, and smiled, because the world had learned something it never should have forgotten. Never underestimate someone you think is small.